thought this was my best paper yet, and boom, another rejection. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, but let's go deeper than the usual checklist. Today, I'm sharing the hidden reasons your paper gets rejected, things reviewers won't write, but they are definitely think. And yes, I learned them the hard way. I used to believe that if your data is strong enough, clean experiments, significant p-values, solid figures, then your paper should get accepted. But the truth is, it doesn't work that way. Journals reject great data all the time simply because the storytelling falls flat. Your manuscript isn't just a report, it's a narrative. If the reviewer can't follow the logic or doesn't feel the why behind your results, they mentally check out. They stop caring. I'll never forget one of my early submissions. Kaplan-Meier curves were perfect, p-values significant, and I felt confident. Still, it got rejected. Reviewer 2 wrote, unclear scientific question and lacks central narrative. That one stung, but it also taught me something essential. Every paper needs a story arc. Start by asking yourself, what problem am I trying to solve? What is my unique angle on it? Why should this result matter to anyone reading it? And then build your manuscript around that journey. Don't just list data. Connect the dots. Guide the readers. Your introduction should spark curiosity. Your result should deliver insight, and your discussion should bring it all together with clarity and purpose. That's how good science becomes publishable science. Let me show you a sentence I actually wrote once. This study aims to investigate gene expression changes in colorectal cancer. Yeah, it sounds academic, right? But in reality, it says almost nothing. No clear direction, no focus, just noise. Reviewers are scanning dozens of paper. They want laser-focused questions and specific objectives. They don't want to guess what you are trying to do. Now look at this version instead. We identified gene 1 and gene 2 methylation patterns for early-stage colorectal cancer detection using plasma-derived cfDNA. Big difference, right? Suddenly, there's clarity, target, and impact. It tells the reviewer, I know what I'm doing, and this matters. Now let's talk about a related issue that's equally dangerous. Weak alignment between your hypothesis and your results. Here's what happens. You set out to study X, but then your results focus entirely on Y. Even if Y is brilliant and publishable, the reviewer is thinking, wait, this isn't what you promised in the beginning. It creates confusion and mistrust. How to fix it? Once your results section is finalized, go back to your introduction. Make sure the question you ask is the one you actually answer. This one small alignment can be the difference between rejection and revision. Let's be brutally honest. Most reviewers start by skimming the figures. They don't dive into your method sections first. They glance at your visuals to decide if the science even looks credible. So if your figures are crowded, confusing, or just plain ugly, you've already lost them. And yes, I've made this mistake. Once I submitted a paper with a rainbow color treatment, I thought it looked fun and colorful. But reviewer wrote, presentation lacks scientific maturity. Lesson learned. Here's what I realized. In peer review, your figures are your elevator pitch. If they don't immediately communicate clarity and quality, reviewers won't take your results seriously. So how do you fix it? Use professional and accessible color patterns. Label your axes and legends clearly. Don't overload a single plot. And use consistent font size and layout across all figures. Keep it minimal and clean. Your figures should tell a story even if someone doesn't read the full caption. And remember, you don't get a second chance to make a first visual impression. Let me confess something. In one of my early drafts, I proudly wrote this sentence. Immunotherapeutic resistance is perpetuated by an epigenetically governed immunosuppressive milieu. Yeah, it sounds sophisticated, maybe even impressive, but you know what the reviewer said? Overwritten and unnecessarily complex. I was trying to sound smart, but I ended up sounding unreadable. And that's when I learned a powerful rule. Don't hide behind jargon. Even in top journals like Nature or Cell, clarity always wins over complexity. Here's the version I rewrote. Tumors escape treatment by silencing immune genes through epigenetic changes. Still scientific, still accurate, but solidly it makes sense. Now, let's talk about a related issue. Overuse of acronyms and dense abbreviations. You might be an expert in your field, but your reviewer might not be. If your manuscript is drowning in alphabet soup, no one wants to decode it. So here's the fix. Use plain but precise language. Define all acronyms clearly and avoid using more than necessary. Don't try to sound smart. Let your data do the talking. As I always tell myself, impress with your results, not your words, because sounding complex doesn't make you credible, being clear does. Let's talk about something subtle, but very real. Sometimes a paper gets rejected not because of bad data or poor methods, but simply because the tone feels off. Too casual, too arrogant, or honestly, too robotic and lifeless. It's more important than people think. Reviewers may never say it directly, but they feel it. So what's the sweet spot? Confident but humble. Let your findings speak for themselves without exaggeration, and acknowledge the real world context and limitation of your work. That's the kind of tone that builds credibility. And speaks of limitations, this one's big. One of the fastest ways to lose reviewer trust, pretending your study is perfect. I once submitted a paper where I completely ignored the fact that our sample size was small. I hoped no one would notice. Well, they noticed. Reviewer comment was, the authors failed to address limitations in sample size and population diversity. Fair and deserved. Here's the truth. Reviewers are scientists too. They know no study is flawless. They don't expect perfection. They expect honesty. So be transparent. Mention your limitations, explain how you minimize their impact, and suggest how your future can address them. That's not a weakness. That's mature science. It shows that you are thoughtful, realistic, and trustworthy, and that's exactly the kind of author reviewers want to support. I want to say something no one really talks about, but every experienced researcher knows deep down. Reviewer fatigue is real. Think about it. A reviewer might be reading 20 papers in a week on top of their own research, teaching, family, and deadlines. They're tired. They scheme. If your manuscript feels cluttered or hard to follow or just doesn't flow, they won't give it the benefit of the doubt. They'll move on and your paper rejected. So what can you do? Make their job easier. That doesn't mean dumping things down. It means designing your manuscript with clarity and structure in mind. Here's what helps: a sharp, compelling abstract that actually says something. Logical flow from intro to conclusion. Clean, well-designed figures that guide, not confuse. Clear section headings and transitions. And most importantly, highlight your novelty early. Doesn't make them dig for it. Because the easier it is to read your paper, the harder it becomes to reject it. That's the secret no one tells you, but it can change everything. Let me end with a bit of real talk. After writing over 30 papers and yes, facing many rejections along the way, here's what I've learned. First, don't take rejection personally. It's not about your worth as a scientist or even the value of your work. It's just one decision by one editor or reviewer on one day. Second, every revision, yes, even the painful ones, makes you a better writer. You sharpen your argument, clarify your logic, and communicate better every time. Third, don't go it alone. Find a mentor, a lab mate, a peer, someone who's read your draft and tell you the truth before reviewers do. And finally, sometimes a paper gets rejected not because it's weak, but because the journal just published something similar, or the reviewer doesn't like your model, or maybe they were just having a bad day. I've seen it. I believe it. You are not your rejection letter. Rejection doesn't mean failure. It means redirection. So take a breath, resubmit, repackage, and retry. Your work deserves to be seen. Don't let no stop you. Here are 5 things that genuinely changed the way I write papers, things I wish someone had told me earlier. 1. Write the abstract at the very end. I know we are all tempted to start with it, but it's meant to summarize the story, not guess what the story would be. Once your paper is complete, the abstract writes itself with much more clarity. 2. Ask a non-expert friend to read your introduction. If they can't follow it, chances are your reviewer won't either. So, clarity is not about simplifying science, it's about making it readable. Use tools to help you. Grammarly can catch what your brain skips. Zotero or any reference manager saves your sanity, especially in revision rounds. Create a visual checklist before submission. Does the flow make sense? Are figures clear? Are headings logical and consistent? This simple step avoids last-minute regrets. 5. And finally, read papers from your target journal. Don't copy the words, but study their rhythm, their structure, how they frame novelty, present figures, transition between sections. It's like learning a language by listening to native speakers. Each of these steps is small, but together they made a massive difference in how my papers were received. Sometimes it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. Let me tell you something important. You are doing real, hard, and meaningful work. Research is not easy, writing is not easy, publishing definitely not easy, but neither are you. Publishing is not the final destination, sharing impact is. So if you get a rejection, don't let it silence you. Take it as feedback, not failure. Learn from it, tweak your approach and try again. Your ideas matter, your perspective is valuable, and this world, especially today, needs curious and brave minds like yours. So I'll say this again, your science deserves to be here. Keep going, I'm rooting for you always. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next video. Until then, stay curious.